community researchers and scientific institutions, it's time for us to work together for the common solution for all. Co-creating with diversity is our theme. The ICBOs, great idea, no nationality. That's why we beautiful living in diversity.
Beyond the field of informal science education, I think that there's so much work being done out there by large organizations, nonprofits, universities, in all kinds of fields, and it could be environmental education, citizen science, any type of field that involves the public, where these organizations are in need of engaging audiences that are representing the changing demographics of the country, and I would say even in other countries with globalization and people moving around. There's this need to constantly adapt and understand better what needs to happen for us to be able to engage. It gives confirmation that a lot of us who've been pushing for some of these changes, we're on the right track. And that's really empowering. More and more organizations are realizing that, hey, perhaps we need to be more humble when we try to engage in communities that are not our communities. We have to give real value to what the community leaders and the community-based organizations are bringing, and we have to make this a win-win situation. We need to not make assumptions about what the community-based organizations not only need, but know. It helps me better explain what I've been seeing, but that it wasn't clear enough for me to articulate. That's what this project has allowed me to do, and what this research and the outcomes of it is allowing me to do. And so I hope that we're going to be able to translate this into online courses and trainings and all these other things that we can use out there.
These conversations and going there, Bobby, go there, always. Go there, take us there. This is the work. This is the work that needs to happen, the conversations we need to take from here and out there. And I still think with this project, we're only hitting the tip of the iceberg on addressing equity.
Changing the dynamics and the approaches from a dominant culture approach to more of a non-dominant approach. What I really love about the project is, first of all, the people that make up all of us who are participating in this project, from scientists to community-based folks, advisors that have expertise within that equity inclusion realm. The diversity of the people of who we are is very racially diverse. We create an inclusive atmosphere that really draws upon our individual and diverse perspectives and experiences in a way that just adds to the robustness of the project in and of itself. We could have easily just sat back and just followed the way things are, but that's not why all of us signed up for this project. It's tough and uncomfortable work, and that's the work that we're pushing against. And if it wasn't uncomfortable, then we wouldn't be pushing up against change. Other communities of color, people of color in this country, outside this country, can look at who is doing the work and they could see themselves. A lot of times that is half the battle in attracting and connecting with folks. Oftentimes in the equity and inclusion space, people bring a heady approach, like let's analyze this and figure out what the problems are and fix them. What I found is that the primarily heady space isn't as effective as it could be when you're engaging the heart and the head. And what's beautiful about this project is that people are bringing their heart and their passion and their head and their intelligence and smarts combined in a beautiful way that is allowing and inviting others to participate in this change and moving us forward.
What's so beautiful about this journey with this project is that it opened my mind to science. Everyone's a scientist. I think for the community-based organization, I want to take things really serious and learn how we can integrate the sciences with the community. We need each other. If a science institution like Cornell accepts us, it gives us credibility. That will give us trust, transparency. That's really important, to have our back. Seeing the injustice that other institutions have treated community-based organizations and my people in general. I have a few that I'm working with that has opened up. I'm learning, as we go along together. For dominant culture organizations, they're going to have to work with all of us, and we have to trust. And trust is to be earned. What stays here forever is love and the way you treat the planet. I could tell the other institutions, they got to go inside their consciousness and really be with people of color and not just be condescending to whatever. Change is hard, but change is all the time. It's one thing that you cannot stop is change.
This project is really important, and the results that were found, especially through the ICBO research, I think it gives voice to what a lot of community-based organizations experience as they are partnering with larger organizations. And it's really important to recognize kind of the different dynamics and really look at what helps to make a partnering relationship successful and really work together and be on the same page as you move forward, as you are partnering and as you are serving different communities, and really taking a look at making sure that the work that you're doing is relevant to the people that are involved in it and the people that you're engaging with. Having been part of this project, it's really opened a lot of doors of opportunity for the community that I work with and the program that I run, and it has helped me to maybe broaden my view on the type of work that we do in ways that, we are able to engage with science and the arts. Through this project, we have been able to connect with places like Cornell's Lab of Ornithology, and we wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise, and that's just opened so many doors for our students to go to the lab itself and participate in the workshop and help make relevant a lot of things through STEM or with birds and conservation that maybe they didn't see the connection with before. And so it's helped us to build leadership skills in our students, and it's helped to just expand their own view of what is possible for themselves as they got to, some of them even fly on a plane for the first time and visit an Ivy League university for the first time and just engage with scientists. It really helped them to feel like that next step is possible and that they're able to keep moving forward.
Probably the most important thing for me, the takeaway that comes out of this presentation was that we had an opportunity and a chance to talk to a lot of young professionals, some 2 and 3 years into their careers, and they talked about the amount of work that we have saved them, that they're going to be able to go directly into the community to develop these relationships, to develop these partnerships, to develop these collaborations. And that is important to us, that we're having a positive impact upon new faculty that's coming from different universities from across the United States. This has really been a meaningful experience for me, because one thing that they told me at the beginning of the project, that they wanted me to be open, honest, and truthful with them. This process started with a group of us that I really didn't know what I was getting involved and engaged with. But it's a process that was started by talking about science students, why minority students are not going into the science programs and being engaged in some of the technology, math and science programs. And I found out that there's a lot of science that goes on at Metro Atlanta Urban Farm. We've been planting in different soil medias, and the students trying to determine which soil media will grow plants the best. And so we come to realize that we are really having a tremendous impact upon students that has the potentials to go into the science and technology program. Believe it or not, farmers that have been around for a long time need to understand the importance of the work that they are doing in science too, because it can help increase their production, and it also can help encourage the generation that will follow them, that will take up the farms, to be engaged at a different level from what their parents had been engaged. Now I see, because of my work and the way that I interact with the leadership in the group, I'm starting to see more and more people come forward and expressing themselves in terms of what they have to offer to the group to help make it better. My primary audience that I work with in the city, in the metro Atlanta area, are underserved and disadvantaged poor people. Poor people throughout this country has not had a voice. And I hope that I can be a voice for the voiceless, that I can speak on their behalf, that I can raise the consciousness of this country.
The community-based organizations that are part of this project are unbelievably strong, they're beautiful, and they've got so much knowledge. What we're trying to learn about is how to make the sciences more inclusive of different voices, to understand how does the sciences represent more of the world as it really is. By working at a science institution, we've got this incredible privilege and this incredible power that sometimes we don't realize that we have. And so we're part of the problem. And biggest thing has been really learning from the community-based organizations, learning to listen and give up the power that as institutions we have to be able to give access to the community-based organizations to have those voices.
Coming from the people who have an interest and they have a passion and they want to help their communities, their work, they put all their heart into it because they really want to benefit their communities. They want to make it practical. They don't want it to sit in a journal or have an academic paper that might be seen by a few. They want to make it practical. They want to see, okay, this is what we have to do. And we have like this great workbook that they put together, long process, but they wanted to make it practical in a way that is accessible and easy to adapt.
Things like even trust and transparency emerged here, and also a real clear understanding that transparency might mean something very different to an institution of science versus a community-based institution. Equitably or transparently looking at the budget really depends on your perspective, and that matters. Science institutions that have everything in place, they've got the admins in place, they've got the paperwork in place. But when you ask that of a community-based organization, you ask for all the requirements, all the justifications, all of the stuff that they're doing to be justified in a way that's comfortable for the science institution. That's, again, a huge inequity. Those are the kinds of things that bubble up when you've got a different perspective, when the research comes from a different perspective.
This is our research shows that many institutions come to community-based organizations thinking they have the answer to their problems, thinking, and again, they don't have bad intentions, they really want to help. They just come thinking that they know the answer and they come to save the community. And before doing that, it would be nice to ask the community, because oftentimes the community, when they know their value, they don't want to be saved. They just want to benefit their community, work together, and find solutions. I was working in the community in a small organization, just volunteering, and they depend on whatever they can get, the crumbs that they can get to make their little thing work. We work our hearts out with not much. We do whatever we can with nothing, basically. People with a certain, scientific degree or academic degree, they are working like in this institution, and it seems to be like separate from the community. Now I'm working on this side with scientists, and I've been learning. We use a scientific protocol. We have a question and we want to try to find an answer for it. If there's a problem, I said, let's find out about this.
Science is better when it has more perspective.
It's true.
And
it's true
so
science.
It goes both ways. Communities can use science to benefit their communities, but also, let's be honest, the sciences get much better when it's representative of the world.
Yes, it's better when it's truly diverse. If you take it the word like true, genuine, authentic. Everyone lives in the planet. We all are affected by the same things. Why a group of people have all the answers? They are not working or collaborating with the rest, with the diversity that exists in the whole planet.
Whatever, practice, and then the next rehearsal, I'll let you know when will be. Friday, I will be probably not able to do rehearsal, but I'll let you know by next week, okay? This project is about helping people to be better, helping our community. I learned that we still have hope for underserved community. We still have hope for change and for people who believe in the community and believe in the poor people. We come to a point that there's a lot of people they're still hoping for something. This project give it, again, a hope, but also still there are things that are not very clear for people. The elephant in the room is still around, which is something that we have to address, and it's important, and I learned a lot about that. Transparency, trust. How you can trust somebody if the person is not transparent. I have a lot of people that I know they can help you at some point, but you cannot trust them. So it's hard to be around people that you cannot trust. This is part of the research. We try to see how we can connect, how we can embrace people in all different levels, and to understand that the survey community need somebody to helping them to building. And in my case, it's like I working with the kids, so I want to make sure they reach all the potentials and they graduate from high school and they come to college. And doesn't matter wherever they come from, doesn't matter what language they speak, doesn't matter what color they are, they need to be recognized because every human being needs an opportunity to be successful in life. I partner with Cornell University. This is a major partner, and we have a very good so far relationship. It's great to working with this team of the ornithology lab. And one of the things that I learned, we never stop to work. So I always told my kids, doesn't matter how long they take it, what's important is that you reach the thing. I don't know exactly what this journey will bring up, but I have a very big hope that we'll be reach the stars.
There is a lot of different things that I have learned during those 4 years. You know, everybody knows that I'm 100% positive, and I usually look for all the good and the greatest of people. However, I have learned that institutional racism is there, is stronger than ever. I have learned that even though we're working in this group and we're trying to do the best that we can in order to find different ways to work together, still we're not on the same page. I have learned that the more uncomfortable that we are talking about these issues, the better it will be. Sometimes when we are working in this environment, we just continue talking and doing the same things that we have done before, and even though we might realize that we made a mistake, we just don't acknowledge it, so we continue to work. So that's what I'm saying, that it is okay to say I'm sorry. It is okay to say, I made a mistake, we're not perfect. I also learned that we need to continue with this work for many, many more years until we actually have something to say that, okay, so we have the perfect recipe to end institutional racism, to end all the isms that are around there. Until we find the recipe for social justice, we have just continued to work and hopefully to work together.
Our non-negotiables are important. I really think even when we talk about non-negotiables, you know, for self-worth, right? There are certain things that you have to have, the same way with our noise family that we had to have so that everybody was on the same page, right? And a non-negotiable for me allows me to know, right? Because once again, we are diverse, including everybody. That is the foundation for where we go collectively, right? So the Noise Project for me, it was able to move forward because of the non-negotiables. Right? That's our foundation for how we're going to get work done inclusively.
I've never worked with a group of people that's as diverse as a group of people that have been a part of this project. For me, that's been a great privilege to have the voices of so many different people at the table. Being able to ask the hard questions, to have the hard conversations. What I've learned from that is that so many good things can come from working through that. A lot of times in partnerships, from my own experience, sometimes when things get difficult or they get hard, I wonder if it's worth it, want to throw in the towel, not sure if I want to work through those tough questions. And I think that what this has shown me is that by really working through issues of power or privilege, issues of trust and transparency, being willing to kind of put yourself out there in difficult situations, when doing that, you can work together in a way that really makes change. I've also learned that the way you walk into a partnership is really important. Going in thinking that I might have a great program that I want to do with a particular population is not going to be the right way to start. It's kind of changing my whole framework to look at things in a different way. And in changing that framework, I think has been a part of the process for me in being a part of this group and learning that my first instincts aren't always the best instincts. It's not my agenda and it's not what I think the community needs. It's really listening to the people that are in that community and then helping to give them a voice. If it can be the community's project, in the end, it's going to be a success.
Kind of the task or the work of the community engagement falls on the community-based organizations, and you might get like a sub-grant. And it's really like a small percentage for often what's kind of the bulk of the work that informs what the work is meant to be. And we have kind of two ideas around how kind of tightrope and third best man or person is. For tightrope is this question of sometimes that an institution will go ahead and hire like a community outreach coordinator. We all know those terms and kind of fill in the blank, which is supposed to be kind of ideally representative of the community and kind of be that liaison. However, most of the what's come up from the surveys is that individual may not be given enough power or privilege to like really fortify that relationship, and anything can happen where that role is gone.
Definitely one of the changes that I think have come out of this project, two that have really stood out is, especially if you're coming from a community-based organization, is entering the space knowing fully well what is the value and your worth, really. There is a reason that an informal science institution or a large STEM organization or a museum or institutions that are used to having resources, there's a reason they're partnering with you, right? So knowing that what you bring into the space is really valuable, and then having all of that laid out at the beginning is really important. We know that to partner means to enter a space on equal grounds in some way, and also acknowledging different equity gaps that you need to close. The result of this project boils down to one key importance, is that there is a set of experiences that exist in a community and that community-based organizations deal with all the time. It's a very real experience, almost like if you're an individual, a leader, a community of color. There are things that are real for you that are not always going to be real for somebody else that's different. And when it comes to a relationship with a large institution or an informal science institution, for example, that may not always come into play. And because you have a grant to work with, because there's funding, there will be things that will still not be shared, because you will restrict or constrict yourself in terms of not wanting to put the grant at risk, not wanting to spoil the future opportunity, thinking, you know what, the easiest path is just to use the funds to like help me support the work. But then you're not really doing the needed transformational revolutionary work. One of the examples, even through this experience, has been through the grant itself or working with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. It was clearly brought up how like, this is how the grant was proposed, this is how it's structured, these are set of the activities. For example, we're gonna have 2 meetings because that makes sense. There is a pre and a post, the introduction and then the conclusion. But then realizing, you know, as community-based organizations, it's not always how you operate because it's so relationship-based. It's like, how else are we meeting? How else are we convening? How else are we sharing a space? How else are we building relationship? How else are we breaking bread? All of the things that we take for granted, why can't those be reflected as part of the process in a grant? That's important, because if they get to continue to be left out of the framework that decision makers with funding look at, then we're just missing an opportunity.
Let's work together as one. Whoa, like brothers and sisters. Whoa, let's live together as one. Whoa, like brothers and sisters. Whoa, let's work together as one. They say better than one. I know what you need. No, that will not do. Trust and transparency is the key to a perfect collaboration. Oh, let's work together as one. Oh, like brothers and sisters.